Good evening. Special meet, oh, Penny, you ready? Forgot about that part. Special meeting of the Flagler Beach City Commission. It is Wednesday, September 30th, 2020 at 5:01 p.m. And we will continue until all items are complete. The purpose of today's meeting is public hearings regarding our budget. And Mayor, would you lead us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have two resolutions. The first one is Resolution 2020-27.
Resolution 2020-27, a resolution of the City of Flagler Beach, Florida, levying the ad valorem property tax millage rate for municipal purposes on all taxable property within the city for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020, and ending September 30th, 2021, stating the millage to be levied as 5.2850 in Flagler County and 5.2850 is the rate to be levied for Volusia County, and providing an effective date.
Okay, and this is our second final reading. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Kathleen, did you want to go over the increase in, or the relationship to rollback, just to get that on the record?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, so the mill rate of 5.2850 is the rollback rate for both Volusia and Flagler counties. So there's no increase to the tax rate this year.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody? Questions, comments? Anybody in the public? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve, is it resolution or?
Yeah, resolution.
Resolution 2020-27.
Second.
Commissioner Bellhammer,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Chair Mealy.
Yes. And now we move on to Resolution 2020-28.
Resolution 2020-28, a resolution by the City Commission of the City of Flagler Beach, Florida, adopting budgets for the General Fund, Utility Fund, Sanitation Fund, Stormwater Fund, CRA Fund, Peer Enterprise Fund, and Building Code Inspection Fund for the fiscal year 2020-2021, fixing appropriations therein, proposing expenditures thereunder, and determining the amount of money to be raised by taxation and providing an effective date hereof.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, anybody in the public? Or one of you? No? Okay, close public comment and look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2020-28.
Second.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Bellhammer,
Yes.
Chair Mealy.
Yes. Okay, then we have a motion.
Chair,
Oh,
before you adjourn,
yes.
since I have the opportunity to have a special meeting on Friday, I wanted to get some feedback from the commission.
Okay.
If you will allow it, on this letter for the county on the gardens project. I wish all five of you were here because I want to match my tone to what you want to accomplish. And so I kind of wanted to go through the 4 items that we talked about at the last meeting and tell you what my impression of it is, having gone through pretty much everything on this project now, the original PUD and all the recent technical reviews and everything else. I think you've all been following it, I know, and I suspect you all understand where they are in the process. So really, the PUD is still the PUD, and that's been part of the back and forth is, should the PUD be amended to do what they want to do? That's going to be one ultimately for the county to decide, and I don't think we have a dog in that fight. But as to the things we talked about, my initial impressions as to the road, short of strongly encouraging the county to give it a really thorough consideration and do the right thing, I can't really take issue with the developer's position on the road. The original developer's agreement gave them the authority to have an entrance there on John Anderson. So I don't think that the change to the conceptual site plan is really in conflict with what was in the developer's agreement. The county has to review it and has to approve it, and that's the process that it appears therein as to that aspect of the plan. So again, my tone on that one, unless you tell me you want me to try to find some other tone to take, is just on the road issue. You know, we have concerns, and we hope that you'll give it a really thorough review and a lot of consideration.
What about a traffic study?
You mean an independent traffic study, because they have a traffic
Oh,
study.
yeah.
Really, it's the county's decision as to whether or not they have the technical capacity. I expect that, I hope, I guess it's an assumption, but the county has reviewed and at least understands what's in that conceptual site plan and the impacts. So asking them, I'm happy to ask them to suggest that City of Flagler Beach would, you know, request that they conduct an independent traffic study, but I also don't want to undermine, or I don't want to speak ill of their existing technical review, because as many jurisdictions that I work with, I suspect there are people there that can look at a traffic study and say, well, this doesn't make any sense. So, and I know from the technical
Okay.
reviews, they've been asking those questions. So I know that staff has reviewed it. So I think this isn't a situation, does not appear to be a situation where a developer submitted a traffic study and, okay, developer says it's okay, therefore it's okay. County staff is looking at these things too. So
Okay.
I'm a little bit, I just want to be careful with that, you know, go and get an independent review, because that undersells the input of their own staff, because that's what our staff does, you know, that's what,
Yeah.
you know, all jurisdictions,
I-
our
I-
staffs have expertise. So I'm a little bit trying to be soft and kind throughout, really, but that one's probably the one that I feel the most compulsion there, because I don't have much to go on, because what they're doing is exactly what the developers agreement said they were going to do. They'd come through a review if they were going to change that plan.
Okay.
On the drainage issue, this is just more of a timing issue, and so my suggestion there is actually, I do have a condition of approval to suggest more, that's geared more towards the preliminary plat than the conceptual site plan, is that those parcels that are designated for future development, and I suspect you all understand, but in case there is any misunderstanding, the fact that they identify something on a plat for future development is not an entitlement. And actually, in going through all the TRC notes, Technical Review Committee notes from the county, that has been reiterated throughout the process. And I don't think there's been any disagreement that, well, this says future development, therefore I'm entitled to develop it. You still would have to go through and either do new PUD or amend the old PUD to get that development. So there's still that review process. So as a condition of approval, and I think it's a innocuous, inoffensive one, because I, again, would expect this to occur anyway, is that any development on parcels identified as for future development will require, you know, PUD amendment or new PUD to establish the zoning and density caps on any future development. And that's exactly where it's postured legally, is they can only develop what's in that developer's agreement. Unless they have a new development approval, they can't do anything more than what's there right now. That's the situation that everybody is in. Developer is locked into it, and the county is locked into it because they have decided not to amend it at this time.
Okay.
Drew, can I ask you a question? So the original PUD development agreement, does that include, is that the 453?
450, yes, ma'am.
450, okay.
So what's really changing in the conceptual as to that is the location of where that density is going on the property.
Okay.
But there is no increase to the development entitlements, and that's why I think that condition of approval, or even by offering the condition of approval, it may just spur debate that gets it at least set on the record that everybody understands that if you're going to go above these numbers, there's going to have to be something about the zoning that changes.
Okay.
And you're going to have to go through that process. And I think that's where you guys were last Thursday. It's just making sure that that was clear to everybody. On the drainage issue, again, more of a timing, because I expect that the review of numbers would occur. On a conceptual site plan, again, at really what's a zoning phase of everything, you're not getting too far into the weeds on, does the math work? You're at 30,000 feet, you know, is it possible to develop this land? And so the condition that I had in mind to suggest on that one was, again, something that I would expect to happen anyway, that prior to any grade and fill permits being issued, prior to there being any alteration to grade on that property, that the developer shall submit plans and calculations, and the county shall review to ensure that there will not be adverse impacts to adjacent property due to alteration of natural flow of water. Because again, that's what I understood the issue. The concern was granted, developer is not going to build a project that floods, but in developer avoiding building a project that floods, is he lifting it up so much that natural flows are being altered so that now the water that would have otherwise historically moved across is now getting pushed off elsewhere. I mean, very basic concept. Yeah, I can stop my property from flooding by building a berm, but if that berm blocks all the water that used to flow and now it's piling up on your property, I've created a problem. And that's the kind of problem that grade and fill reviews are meant to avoid. We're not at grade and fill yet. And so that's a review that I completely expect to be done. And again, if we offer that condition, if they accept the condition, great. At the very least, hopefully it spurs some conversation to get that conversation on the record. Everybody understands that before there's alteration to grade, there's going to be more review that goes into that.
And are we asking for involvement in that review? I understand that would not be right now, but
Involvement how?
if we believe that whatever alterations they make to their land will affect, I'm just going to use Palm Drive as the main example, that's in our city,
Or our own property,
or our own.
because the city owns property.
Right. So when the county does this review, whenever they do it, would we have it?
I think that's a good add to that condition. I would hope that would happen anyway, and
I would
and I'm
like
sure
that.
everybody here will be keeping an eye on it to know when it's going through. But at the very least, the same as any property owner who feels like that they may be impacted by development, at the very least, we have the right to say, hey, this is what we think, and this is where we think there might be some problems. Please look at these. And so I can add that to the condition, that City of Flagler Beach, that when that comes through review, that comments be solicited from the City of Flagler Beach. And I think that's consistent with the county's comprehensive plan that encourages the interlocal cooperation.
Yes, it does.
Well, that was the point I was going to ask about. Is there something that is created in black and white in reference to that?
Let's go, let me roll back one item. So if they come in for new PUD to amend old PUD or whatever zoning approvals are being done for those parcels marked on the preliminary site plan as for future development, I think those are the types of things that absolutely there should be that outreach to the adjacent jurisdictions to say, we have this under review. So zoning matters, yes. When it comes to the technical side of something like a grade and fill permit, that's usually, may not even be a commission level review, it may just be an administrative review, not necessarily pursuant to the comp plan. So zoning determinations, yes, I think that triggers the interlocal cooperation. Administrative reviews of technical data, probably not, in the strict sense, black and white.
Now
sense.
that you've led to that, back when they first presented this in their 4,000 units, I know Larry had staff.
And that was part of the
spend a lot
intergovernmental,
of time on.
that was part of the intergovernmental coordination, and the county was soliciting that review too.
Okay, but we reviewed the effect of the 4,000, a development of 4,000 units. So should we update that?
But the thing
Our
is.
response to
And
those.
this is why I started off with where we are posture-wise. We are operating under a zoning approval that's already been given.
Right.
So that review has already occurred. It occurred 15 years ago. So nobody is reviewing that right now. The
Understood.
entitlements for the development
Understood.
exist as they are in the PUD. So, yeah, we reviewed
Just the
4,000, because
general-
4,000 would have been new zoning approvals, but now we're just talking about the old zoning approvals that have already been issued. So there's really not that kind of review going on.
I'm
right now.
talking about things that would affect the city directly, such as police and fire response and, other things that,
I do understand that, but that's what I'm saying. That's the review that occurred in 2006. So, and because we have a PUD, and I know it's the 11th hour, but they are still under the old PUD that has already created those entitlements.
okay.
Maybe it wasn't part of the process. Wasn't there talk of building a fire station or something?
There was.
There's a piece of land that's going to be like where a firehouse could go.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't necessarily a building. from the way I read what I read.
The fire station was dedication of land for a fire station to be built upon. It was
But it's
dedication of
not
land.
required that it's,
The rededication of land was.
And they've chose a different location, but that's in it.
okay.
But, and the county, at this point, is the one that's going to be building this fire station.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What we're doing on Friday is sending the county a letter saying that this development has XYZ impacts on the city. So we know we have to give them water and sewer because it's our water district.
And that's the last one that I'll talk about, but yes.
Okay. Today, I got this, and either I'm confused or they are. This is from the Preserve Flagler Beach and Bulow Creek group, telling people about our meeting on Friday. The city of Flagler Beach will hold a special workshop meeting to review a proposed letter to the developers of the gardens with conditions for providing water and sewer to the development.
That's not the letter I'm writing.
The commission will meet, we're not doing that.
No, but you do have a meeting next Thursday where the utility permits
Right, I see
are
that on
coming
the
forward. So it may be a combining of those two concepts that created the confusion.
Okay, so we're not providing conditions for water and sewer.
Well, let me talk about water and sewer.
Okay.
So the best argument that I have, if I want to pick a fight, the fight that I would pick is that one. And the reason why I briefed Rick on it and Rick asked Fred to be here is because if I'm going to pick a fight, I don't want to pick a fight that everybody gets a black eye in. By which I mean a fight where everybody loses. Right now, if you go to that 2005, 2006 settlement agreement, it has in there, the original PUD in 2005 had a requirement, had the fire station dedication of land, also had the expectation that developer was going to build its own facilities, water, wastewater, reclaim. And there's the water wars in 2006, the settlement agreement that came from that. Within that settlement agreement, it says developer will, it wipes out the parts of the PUD that required the wastewater, the on-site wastewater facilities. Flagler Beach is going to provide water and wastewater. But it has in there a requirement that developer build on city's property, on our facility, a reclaim facility capable of processing 1 million gallons a day, I think, of reclaimed water.
Yep.
And that building of a reclaim facility was a condition of us providing the bulk of the water that we are obligated under that agreement to provide. So the reclaim facility had to exist before we really had that. I think it was 50 gallon average per day flow or something like that we were on the hook for until the reclaim facility, which is when the bigger numbers kicked in. So if I'm looking at this from a strict concurrency type review of is there water available, well, there's really not water available until there's a reclaim facility because we don't have an obligation to provide all the water that agreement provides for until there's a reclaim facility. So again, it's a timing issue, I think more than a financial one though, because it's pushing to the front, and I think that was the intent, was that reclaim would be available when units were being occupied, when there was actual use going on, that reclaim was supposed to be early and not as it seems to have been framed through this process of, we'll put in the pipes, and when the city makes reclaim available, we'll use it.
Yeah.
That wasn't the intent in 2005,
No,
it wasn't the intent in 2006. But, and this is the other side of it that I want to be sensitive to, with that reclaim facility, or I don't think anybody wants necessarily 1 million gallon per day facility, new facility. I think from what I hear, retrofitting is the much more economical and efficient way to go with what we have. So I think that could be done through agreements to modify the terms. Strictly speaking, I think it would only be right to include all of the parties in such a modification, but at least if the county and Palm Coast had no objection, it shouldn't be a problem for us to make whatever changes there that we needed to with the developer. But in that settlement agreement, and it makes sense to me why it's there, that whatever dollars developer spends on the reclaim facility well, those are being equaled out by credits against what they would otherwise pay in impact fees. So it's not like we're getting anything for free, and the reason why I say that makes sense is an impact is an impact. The courts have been very clear over the years that we can't double charge for an impact. So the reclaim facility is lessening the impact to water and wastewater, so we're crediting to those impact fees what's being spent there. It's more of an in-kind contribution to impact than a dollar contribution to impact. And so what that means is financially, it's really a wash at the end of the day. But there are times and circumstances when the city may have the opinion that, well, the dollars are more flexible to us than you coming in and building us a facility, or you spending dollars on this one specific thing. And so if I pick this fight, that's one result that it could be is, okay, fine, we'll come in and we'll retrofit or we'll pay for the retrofit, but you understand that that's less impact fees that we're paying now because we made basically the in-kind contribution, which takes flexibility away from these guys, which is why I asked them to be here so that if you had questions for them, or because I think this is a bit of a policy determination, and I wanted to get feedback before I put it in writing and make that record of this is the button that we're going to push, that it's the button that we want to push.
But if we don't do that, we can't afford to build a reuse plant.
But you're going to get impact fees. That's why I say it's an issue of timing.
But our impact fees are not necessarily, reclaim water. That's for water and sewer, not reclaim water, right?
But that is water and sewer impact. So you would be able to spend those impact fees on reclaim because reclaim is related to your water and sewer. It's lessening the impact on both. That's why there's that offset in costs in the settlement agreement.
So the impact fees, you're saying the impact fees we would get would give us enough money?
That's the math. I don't know on the math how the math works out. I think, just from the conversations I've had, that, yes, the impact fees you receive would.
2.2, Fred?
Fred, you going to help us?
Yeah, I got questions for Fred, too.
I'm going to be very brief. However, I agree with the city engineer.
Turn the mic on. Thank you.
Public Works Director. We don't have any set established costs for reclaimed water connection fees, okay? We can establish whatever we want to for reclaimed water connection fees. That's my point, okay? So I understand Drew's point is if they pay up front for the reclaimed water plant improvements, then it just goes a credit against the water and sewer impact fees. That's pretty clear in the agreement. But here's my point. My point is this. If we want to provide reclaimed water to them, we can set the rules, whatever you want to establish as far as what we're going to charge for connection, what we're going to charge for the water, okay? So, that's the real carrot that we have to decide. Okay, we want to sell the water, they want the water. The question is, how much are they going to pay for it? Up front and then on a monthly rate for the usage of the water.
Fred, how much estimated would it cost to retrofit our
I
plant?
got an estimate from our consultants. They basically said we could retrofit 300,000 gallon, which is basically half of our plant capacity, right? Half of our water coming into the plant right now on a daily basis, which is about 600,000. We could produce 300,000 gallons of reclaimed water for a $750,000 improvement cost.
And the other 300,000 gets dumped in the river?
For now, it could be. In the future, obviously, if we're going to build a $1.5 million reclaimed water plant, and if we have customers, we'd love to have the capacity to develop 1.5 million gallons. We would like to sell all of our reclaimed water, but you can't sell it if you don't have customers.
And what happens when the state says we have to have 100%?
Yeah, I want to clarify that too. Our permit runs out in 2024. We have a 5-year permit that we just got last
And the
year.
state can't, if they change their rules for new plants,
They're not going to, I'm never going to say never say never. However, highly unlikely they're going to put any crimp on our current permit
But it wouldn't happen during, it would not happen during the term of your existing permit.
Right.
Correct.
Now, in 2024, I can't tell you what they're going to make us do.
That's not that far away.
No, it's not. It's not that far away.
I think the other side of the questions you were asking, so the question that I think Commissioner Bellhumer was asking was comparison of costs to provide costs to give ourselves the ability to provide the reclaimed water compared to what we'd bring in the stormwater, or excuse me, the sewer and water impact fees. Would we collect enough in impact fees to cover that cost? Forgetting reclaim, except for that's what you're backing out of what the total is. It's the total of what we expect to come in for sewer and water impact fees, not connection charges, sewer and water impact fees minus cost to retrofit or build reclaim facilities is the delta to the good or to the bad. I think that was the question Rick was asking. And I think the expectation is we are going to receive more in impact fees than your expectation of what the cost to make the plant capable of providing reclaim, what that cost is, that there's more in impact fees than there is in cost to create the reclaim.
Yeah, there would be more collected for 335 units for sewer impact fees. That amount of money would be more than what reclaimed water improvement
Right.
to produce 300,000 gallons, if that's the question.
How much time, though, will it take to collect $750,000 in fees?
And that's why this, from my perspective, this is really a timing issue, because those impact fees are going to trickle in as the individual lots are developed.
It depends on what you collect up front for reclaimed water connection. And I need to keep saying that because this agreement doesn't speak to reclaimed water, other than building a plant and getting credits on water and sewer impact fees. I believe legally we can require a reclaimed water connection fee to help pay for the cost of the plant. No, I'm not an attorney, thank goodness, but
Or
that's my
they
opinion.
can also prepay sewer and water impact fees, which
That's
gives you the
right.
money earlier in the process.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, so I mean, and those are all bargaining points, and now may be the time, and that's why I kind of wanted to get a feel, because that's the angle that I'm taking there is before they start really building, then we need to sort out the reclaim facility and the timing of it. You know, we can agree down the road on who's doing what, who's responsible for what, who's paying what, but right now, it seems to me that what we really want the county to do is to say, this needs to be ironed out before you're getting to final approvals of things.
Could we require impact fees at the time that they stub out? In other words, where they pop up all their connections for each house that, each building lot?
We'll do that. The agreement says we collect it just like they're inside the city, so they're paying now up front. Those folks are going to pay up front every time they pull a building permit, they'll pay.
What if they don't start building for?
Right, and that's the
Then there's
timing
no
issue.
money to
Right,
collect.
that's the timing issue, and unless you have a prepayment agreement.
Right.
That's why I say the money can trickle in as permits are issued.
How much of that 300,000 gallons can they use?
Right now, zero, unless they build a spray field. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
They're not going to be able to use the majority of that until they're built, close to build out.
correct.
Because each individual yard's only going to get a sprinkler system when it's done. So.
Well, that's an argument for getting paid up front. Getting our money up front.
And they are supposedly building a golf course. Nobody believes it, but that's what supposedly.
There's no
Many
guarantee.
times the technical review, so it's definitely been a subject of conversation throughout their review.
I thought that was pretty much in stone from
Well,
what I
it's supposed to be.
what I heard at the meeting.
Supposed to be.
But there's no timing. There's no set timing, like future.
Right. Oh, by the way, Penny sent us that study that you found in the archives. That was 2002, correct? Does that sound right? Our connection fees haven't changed since 2002. They're still the exact same as
The
they were
impact
back.
fees have, but the connection fees.
Correct. Just something to think about.
I'm well aware of that problem. I also want to mention to you, the folks, that we do have a copy of the stormwater calculations that the Gardens did for this 335 units. I have it in my computer, and I have a copy of the application. They do not have a St. John's permit yet on the stormwater for these 335 units, but I have all the plans and all the documents in my office.
So-
Go ahead.
Is part of what they're building over there on the east side, this first phase, is that been a storage area for stormwater prior to any development?
What I can explain, and I've got.
Ponds in there and stuff that are going to be filling in?
Yeah, I looked at,
Reorganizing.
that's a good question. I looked at the stormwater calcs today, and I've got a copy of a key page. Basically, they have acre feet of stormwater retention on site.
Okay.
And they have a weir that overflows at elevation 4, assuming the river elevation's at 2. So, what that means is, they've got the retention requirement up to elevation 4 to hold all the water to elevation 4.
Right.
And I'm
Before
speaking to the city,
it
the
overflows.
engineer, there's actually two outfalls, one to the south and one to the north.
And does the one to the north then affect Palm Drive?
There's the one that crosses Palm Drive, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like 80 to 100 pages of drainage calculations. I didn't study all of those, but I
Right.
You
looked at them.
didn't. Well, so are you getting what we're feeling? No?
No, I think I am. And so, again, if I didn't say it already, the condition that I have in my head to request on that one is that prior to I lost my marker for whether it was I think it was CO, but prior, and maybe we want to do it earlier than that, but prior to development permits for the site, that developer shall, if this is what we want to say, developer shall ensure that reclaim water is available, meaning built, not just that they put in pipes and when we build it, they'll use it, but that they take a more active role in the ensuring that when that development comes online, that there is reclaim available to them.
I like the idea of getting the money up front and giving them the impact
That's between us
credits.
and the
That
developer,
way you
though.
got the money to put it together.
But that's between us and the developer. That's not, I don't think that's something the county has
Okay.
the authority to compel. And, how we resolve the issue with developer is between us and the developer. And
Okay.
even if they had the authority to do it, I'm not too sure I want to put that in the county's hands and lock it in to say, this is how you have to do it, developer, because that's also locking us into how it has to be done.
But can we lock it in that
We can ask them to.
they say to the developer that they have to work with us to get to that point?
We can ask them to, and that's really all we can do is ask.
Well, that's all of this whole thing.
Chair, can I ask a question? Fred, the stormwater documents that you have, are those current documents?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, created by a stormwater engineer, I'm assuming?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. By you?
Parker Mitchenberg's company, who's the developer engineer for the gardens. He also indicated that about 30 years ago, he designed the Palm.
Yeah, I was going to
Palm
say,
Drive
he's the
area.
guy who would never flood Palm Drive.
So he's very familiar with the drainage in the area.
Okay. Yeah, kind of.
Getting back to reuse again, or the fact that our permit's running out in 2024. So should they require that we not discharge anymore into the intercoastal? What do we do at that point? Because we can't just,
I'll speak to my experience in Port
Evaporate
Orange,
this water.
where they basically almost got to zero discharge of about 6 million gallons a day by creating about, 5,000 or 6,000 customers. St. John's would be very happy for them to see us developing a reclaim and distribution system to get water, to sell water and get the reclaim out of the river, okay? And you gradually do that by having a wet weather discharge, one way they call it, by having an opportunity to put it in the river, and then they basically permit you to produce this much reclaimed water to sell. So it'll develop over time, because there's no reason to develop 1.5 million reclaimed water when you don't have customers to use it.
That's my point. I mean,
Very good
they're only
point.
going to use, less than half. What are we going to do with the rest
So
of it?
the answer is, in 5 years or 4 years from now, part of our permit will say, we want this much for public access reclaimed water, and we got permission to sell that much, produce that much, and this much can still go into the river.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
Just one last question for Fred. So Fred, do you think St. John's Water Management District would pony up any money to assist us?
Well, last year, they invited me to come over there and talk to them about, and actually, I didn't mention the name of the gardens, but I mentioned,
Your development.
asking them do a study on reclaimed water to serve this area with reclaimed water. So I did make a presentation to their board. We didn't get any money to do the study, but we're obviously going ahead with the plant. Anyway, so they're very proactive. I mean, 30 years ago, I was applying for reclaimed water retrofit grants into subdivisions, 30 years ago in Port Orange.
And that is, I think, that's a good question, because it's another reason why, there is some merit to looking at the flexibility, us building a plant on our terms and just collecting the full amount of the impact fees that would otherwise come in without that offset, because if there's grants available, then that is, to our benefit ultimately. And whereas if developer comes in and just were to build a reclaim facility,
All right.
there's no
That's
grants for
it.
us for that.
I mentioned to the developer's got the opportunity to apply for his own grants for his own reclaim distribution system. So they would be more than happy for us to apply for grants for that type of thing.
All right. Well, I've gotten feedback, so it was helpful.
Okay, thanks for bringing it up now.
Well, I needed to draft a letter, and I wanted to be careful with how I worded things, so it just was a convenient opportunity.
I hate to pressure you, but do you think we'll see it before?
No.
Right? We won't.
Penny will distribute it at that meeting.
Okay,
Oh,
on purpose?
I've already got a couple of news agencies asking every day, do you have it? Do you have it?
Okay, okay. Okay.
Chair,
Mm-hmm,
before we adjourn,
mm-hmm.
real quick, today's Larry's birthday.
I know, I thought of that.
I spoke with Lisa, and she's going to be in and out of town, well, she'll be around. She's got to go like the 16th, I think, up to Milton for the service that they're doing there that they never did because of the hurricane 2 weeks ago or whatever. But, I told her that we wanted to do a celebration of life for Larry, and she was, agreeable to that. So, in talking to Liz and whomever else, Rick, what would you guys think about maybe like a Wednesday night, like at 5:30, doing something on the pier, where we could go out and say a few words and throw some flowers or whatever, and we can invite,
Golf balls in the ocean.
we can invite, the other elected officials from other cities, and that way too, our employees could be there as well, if it was like 5:30.
Good.
So, I'll get with Liz and we'll get some dates, hopefully we can do it within a couple weeks. Maybe, she's leaving town the 16th, maybe the 14th, something like that, I don't know, but,
Good. Yeah, I thought about it being Larry's birthday today.
yeah. So,
The last day of the budget year, I remember him always saying that.
so anyway, just wanted to let you know. that
That's
I'm in
good.
Contact
Yeah,
with her. and-
good. Thanks, Linda.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
Nope.
In that case, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks a lot.